Picture this. Overnight, you suddenly become the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. You were rolling around cash and woke up to the sweet smell of money. But I bet you'd be having a billion questions running through your mind. One very important one is, will you be able to grow it even bigger in the next 5 years? Or will you run it into the ground? Well, that's what makes the thin difference between an average and a highly successful individual. Welcome to Modern Wealth. Today, we'll be discussing how successful individuals make their living through being innovative, resourceful, and most importantly, patient. So let's get to it. Successful individuals have what a lot of people like to call big brain energy around them. But there's much more to their success than that. Realistically speaking, if you became the CEO of Apple tomorrow, the next iPhone would probably look a lot different, which might put off some people. So maybe hold that thought for a little longer. But if you believe that successful people are way smarter than you, then that puts you in a really awkward spot. I mean, it is kind of unfair to be compared to someone who built a multi-million-dollar asset. You'd have to ask yourself some hard-hitting questions like, what would you have to learn? What would you need to know? And how to do the things they've done? These are impossible questions to answer, and people naturally get stuck on them. But if you call it a day right after asking them, then maybe success isn't for you after all. One very important thing we have to understand is that there's really no solid correlation between being smart and being successful. There are millions of smart people out there, but most of them are employees with average lives. At the same time, there are a lot of highly successful people who might not have the highest IQ. As a matter of fact, I could probably sit here for the next 10 years and talk about things I'm not good at. But that's detrimental to the goal of this video. Instead, let's talk about how these people became so successful, even if they're not particularly bright. Well, a piece of advice I could give you is to not beat yourself up over the things you didn't do or achieve. A lot of investors out there love to say, "Oh, I was never smart enough to do that," or "I was never smart enough to invest," because they look in retrospect and beat themselves up over missed opportunities. They think that they're some all-knowing beings who were supposed to be aware of every single detail. This could also be what leads them to make really bad decisions to try and make up for lost opportunities. That's why they start investing with insane leverage and ruin their lives. Another thing to keep in mind is past performance is not an indicator of future results. Judging yourself now by how smart you could have been, or by what you did or didn't do in the past, has little value to you at present. Look at the people who invested in Twitter. They invested when Twitter was a baby and made a ton of money when it grew. There are also people who passed on Twitter, but invested in something else at a different time and still made money. You see, what most people get wrong about successful people is that these people are smart in every area all the time. The public thinks these successful people always make the right calls and always know what to do, what to say, and who to talk to. The reality is that there isn't a surefire way to make the right decisions. It's about knowing when to make the right call and admitting your mistakes. It's not that successful people are right all the time. It's that their good calls outweigh the bad ones. They get really smart at one particular thing, and that outshines the things they're not so good at. So far, we've established that successful people are not smart or good at everything. They're just really good at one particular thing. If you agree with this and have your own ideas of what makes a person successful, make sure to comment down below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Moving on, another thing the public gets wrong is how getting smart happens. Technically speaking, being smart means your ability to acquire and apply knowledge is remarkably high. As you can see, there are two components here. 1. Acquire knowledge. And 2. Apply the said knowledge. Most people tend to skip the second part. I mean, how many times have you seen walking Wikipedias who haven't actually done anything but call themselves really smart? This second component is actually the crucial one. Think about it like this. There are two ways to learn how to ride a bike. You can either watch how to ride a bike and try it yourself, or just hop on a bike, put on a helmet, and hope for the best. Obviously, there's a much better option between the two, which involves fewer bruises and scars. You might meet a few speed bumps, but what makes you smart is doing it a second time successfully. Your first attempt can maybe set the foundation at first, but doing it a second time successfully is what gives you the right to call yourself smart. In terms of business and money, that second time can be another company, another investment, another product, or simply another good call. Unfortunately, there's one more thing that people don't seem to understand. This is how the confirmation of being smart happens. You think you did everything right, but people still don't recognize you as being smart and don't see you any differently despite your efforts. On the flip side, you're doing things right and you get unintentionally recognized for it. Let's take a look at Bill Gates. He was recognized as being smart for starting Microsoft. And I mean, yeah, it's a behemoth of a corporation and it made him a billionaire. But when he started it, the only reason the company made money was to pay for its employees. Gates never knew Microsoft would become this huge. You see, the confirmation of you being smart comes from the future. You make an educated bet with the intent of adding value and let the game play itself out. This is something incredibly valuable and a little difficult to wrap your head around. But as long as you do the right things in the right direction with the right intention, the game will play itself out. Another great way successful people stay and become successful is through networking. It's a criminally underrated and often misunderstood thing. I've heard a lot of people ask, what does having a good network of people mean to you? Well, the answer is probably knowing a lot of different people from different industries, right? Not exactly. You see, a good network is not defined by how many people you know, but by the quality of the people you know. Fun fact: the amount of people you need to know to reach out to every person on Earth is about 6 people. There's actual research on this. You might have even heard of it. It's called the 6 degrees of separation, and it states that all people are 6 or fewer social connections away from each other. If we look at it this way, you probably know someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows Obama. By the way, this is kind of why pyramid schemes are scams. If you hire everyone you know, and they hire everyone they know, we'd run out of people on Earth real quick. Now everyone might be a part of a pyramid scheme, and that's bad news. But back to our main point. A good quality network doesn't look at how many people you know. It's about who you know, and sometimes being in the right room is more important than the reason you're there in the first place. Let's look at the case of Carolyn Davidson. One day, at her university, she was complaining to one of her professors about not having enough money to buy painting supplies. So, the professor decided to give her a little side project, designing a logo for his running shoes for the whopping price of $35. She did the work, made multiple variants, and made the professor choose. He chose the one that was simple, and this is what she came up with. That's right! The Nike logo was made by a young student for $35. And the first reactions she received were subpar. However, she ended up working for Nike for a couple more years and actually received an undisclosed amount of shares in the end. Just like you can't time the market, you can't predict when it's the right time to activate your network. Timing is tricky sometimes, while other times it's just luck. More often than not, it's planning. But there's one way to increase your chance of great timing. And that's honestly to just try and give yourself more of it. If you plan something to happen by the time you're 35, it might be good motivation, but often it's just an artificial weight you put on your shoulders. Every individual is different, so make sure to find the time schemes and motivations that work best for you. Just know that successful individuals are not all that smarter than you. They're good at something specific, have a great network, and have great timing. These are all doable things that don't require any particular skill. In the end, it all boils down to how far you're willing to go and the things you're willing to do. If you enjoyed this video and began your journey to be successful, make sure to hit the like button. Thanks for watching, and if you want to learn a few more tips and tricks to handling your money, make sure to subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. Cheers!